Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel, and that's right, we are finally back with Retro Wrestling Rewind. This was supposed to be weekly, but hey, once a month is better than nothing. And I'm actually recording this just a few hours before Revolution 2026, and we are just over 5 years removed from this. And yes, let me get it out of the way here early as possible. 5 years doesn't really equal retro, but you know what I mean. The point of this show is to review shows from the past to see how they hold up and stuff like that. But I really wanted to get this out before Revolution this year, but it happened, so we'll watch Revolution 2026, and then you'll see the review of this a few days later. This was the show that everyone wanted to talk about for one reason, well, two reasons really. One, it was the in-ring return of Sting in an incredible match, and of course, the main event, the exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. We'll talk about it, okay? I have so much to say about it. I'm trying to make these videos shorter than the WrestleMania 6 one was, which thank you so much to everyone who watched that and the likes I got. I didn't expect all that. But I do have a lot to say about that main event. So let's just jump right into what this show was like. Because the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that even though this isn't technically retro, because it's only 5 years old, is the simple fact that it's completely different. 5 years ago, we were still in the pandemic, which is why there's only 1,300 people, which is still a lot for a pandemic, in the, Daly's place. I almost forgot where it took place. And AEW 5 years ago was a completely different company. Not only is the Inner Circle still a thing, and we'll talk about it, but you know who's still in AEW and is still kicking ass and has not even hinted that they're going to WWE? Cody Rhodes. And at this point, he is being called Cody Rhodes again. Now, I didn't look this up, and I probably could have. I don't remember exactly when WWE released the Rhodes name, because his real name isn't Rhodes, it's Runnels. So Rhodes was owned by WWE. But if you've never seen the episode of Dynamite where Justin Roberts is allowed to call him Cody Rhodes, I suggest you go out of your way to find it, because it is genuinely hilarious. Because for years, after Cody left WWE, he was just known as Cody. When WWE releases the name and AEW got to use it, the way Justin Roberts says his name is, again, I'm not going to try to recreate it here, but it's really funny. But it was good for Cody to have Cody Rhodes. And even here at the pay-per-view, he's still yelling Rhodes pretty emotionally, which makes me think it wasn't that far removed from that. So there's a little thing for you there to kind of jump into, because it's an AEW pay-per-view, so you know we have a lot to talk about. And the first match of the show was for the World Tag Team titles. Real quick, before I jump into this too far, everybody in my house is going through some sort of cold or something. So if I have to stop the video a bunch, it could be because I'm coughing or because I deal with something around. You guys know the chaos here. And yes, by the way, in case you're wondering, I have notes again. Not nearly as many. Was the AEW World Tag Team titles, the Young Bucks taking on the Inner Circle, who was Chris Jericho and MJF, which is also a cool little time capsule, right? Imagine telling people back then just how big MJF would be in 2026. I mean, it isn't that hard to believe. You can see the wheels turning in his head, but he was nowhere near the absolute megastar, let's be honest. He is in 2026, to the point where I don't know if he's going to lose the title tonight to Hangman Page in a Texas death match. But this was really, really good. What do you expect? It's the Young Bucks, it's Chris Jericho, it's MJF. I know Chris Jericho has a weird reputation in 2026, but back in 2021, he was still wearing his working boots. Is that what we say? This was also around the time that the Inner Circle beat up the Young Bucks' dad. I'm not even going to pause this time. Which, at this point, I was going to be honest with you. If I was related to Matt or Nick Jackson, I'd leave the country. Because this was happening back in 2021, and it's happening again in 2026. And family members just keep getting their asses kicked. So if you're a part of the Jackson family, leave, abscond, disappear, or you're going to get beat up. There was this destroyer during the match that I made a note of, where MJF landed. It was done to MJF. I didn't write down which Buck did it. But he hit it, MJF went to his feet, and then kind of did a reversed flare flop, is the best way I can describe it. Sorry about all the craziness. But yeah, after that, I got really into the match at this point. Like, it was hard not to buy in. At one point, Chris Jericho used Floyd the Bat, and remember Floyd the Bat? And MJF hit a heat seeker for a really close near fall that I bought, which is stupid because I watched the show when it happened, but I don't remember all the results. There were, let's see. Yes, I'm looking at my notes. I did this last time too. Why fix it? There's a Again, I don't really know what else to tell you. This is a really good match. There's code breakers, there's lion tamers, there's lion salts. But eventually the Young Bucks start getting revenge. They hit MJF with just an exaggerated number of super kicks, just over and over and over and over. Super kick party for MJF. Eventually hit the Meltzer driver and win. That's a 1, 2, 3. I believe they retain their tag team titles. This was really good. I know it seems like I sped through it, but it's a tag team match with the Young Bucks. It's hard for me to not just kind of go through it and just tell you how it went. Before I give you my rating for this match, remember I do star ratings, but I don't do negatives and I don't do quarter stars. I only do halves and full. I want to point out that this doesn't mean I'm stuttering. I am not an AEW mark. I am a big fan of all wrestling companies, especially in 2026 when I think wrestling is the best it's ever been. However, my first episode was WrestleMania 6. So the quality difference is massive. Let a few of these episodes get out there and you guys will see that I don't just love AEW more than anything in the world. That was the case at one point in my life. However, I did give this tag team match between the Bucks and the Inner Circle 4 stars. I do think it was that good. The argument could be made for 3.5 if you wanted to have a conversation, not a row. But I think it was really fantastic. There was no holes. No holes. Everything connected just like this. Everything just connected. I'm not going to do the other connecting motion. It was a really good match. And what was really interesting is something we'll get to a little bit later because how I mentioned that MJF wasn't the massive star he was going to be. We were well on our way. So 4-star tag team title match to start off proper Revolution. There was a pre-show, but the pre-show. Up next was a very interesting match that I honestly didn't see coming. I looked up the match card beforehand and didn't realize what this was. It's the Tag Team Casino Royale, meaning that the winning team gets to face the Young Bucks now. And it's not a classic Casino Battle Royal. It's more like a Tag Team Royal Rumble, which made me excited because I love the idea of a Tag Team Royal Rumble. And no, I did not write down all the tag teams. You can look them up. I'm not going to be an a-hole, but this was a lot of tag teams. Most of them don't even work for AEW anymore. But it was pretty good. All things considered, a lot of fun. Dark Order was in it 3 times, so how is that fair? You've had lots of teams, like I said, that don't exist anymore. Bear Country, Butcher and the Blade, who I think are back, quote unquote. Like they made a post that they're both ready to come back. I don't think they've made their proper return yet. Hopefully they do soon. They were one of my favorite teams. You got Jurassic Express. You have the Death Triangle, which was Pac, Penta, and Phoenix. So that's an interesting team, considering I'm recording this on Sunday, the same day as Revolution this year. Just last night, on AAA, Penta and Phoenix announced that they're going to try to come back as a team soon. So interesting that the Lucha Brothers are now in WWE and AAA. But this was, it's a Royal Rumble, right? You got teams coming in, you got people being thrown out. There were stories going all over the place. Something that made me laugh, and I watched it 3 times because it made me laugh, was when the first Dark Order team, one of the Dark Order teams comes out, Stu Grayson and Evil Uno. And JR on commentary is just, I think he just wanted to get a word in, right? He had a bad throat. He was kind of talking like he was sick. And while Excalibur and Tony Schiavone were putting over Stu Grayson, how strong he is, how tough he is, how he's one of the great stars, when they stopped talking, JR just goes, Evil Uno! He just shouts Evil Uno. I don't know why it made me laugh. I think because it was so unexpected. I think he was just trying to remind us all that Evil Uno is great too. But it eventually comes down to Phoenix and Jungle Boy. I looked at my notes real quick because there was one thing I forgot to mention. The Natural Nightmares was a team at this point, which was QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes. And at some point, QT eliminates the Gun Club. And apparently they were all friends, and Dustin got mad, so he slaps Dustin and leaves, eliminates himself. It was weird. It was dumb. Allie helps eliminate Dustin Rhodes with the Butcher and the Blade. Remember her? I think she just returned to TNA in some backstage segment with Rosemary. So good for her. Love Rosemary. But it comes down to Phoenix and Jungle Boy. They have this insane mini matchup. Excuse me. It was just an absolute blast to see those two 5 years ago doing their thing. But eventually Phoenix throws Jungle Boy out. Excuse me again. So Pac and Phoenix, the Death Triangle, they win the Casino Royale Tag Team Battle Royal Rumble, whatever you want to call it. It was fun. It was really fun. But it was just a Royal Rumble, right, with tag teams. So I didn't want to overdo it here. I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun. You saw a lot. Again, there was some good storytelling, and the argument over the last few years with the Royal Rumble is that like we would just throw people in the ring and then tell a good story and then throw people in the ring. That's kind of the same thing here. You get a bunch of teams in the ring, but there are some good stories. There is some good wrestling, obviously. But I really enjoyed it. 3.5 stars, and the Death Triangle won this one. Again, really fun and a really good concept. Quick couple of segments here. Backstage, we run into Paul White, who teases a huge debut. I forgot about, again, something I completely forgot about. He teases a new signing, and he says that this new signing is going to outwork everyone. If you know, you know. And then we see DDP, Paul Walter Hauser, and Al Snow in the crowd. I have nothing to say about Al Snow right now. To not get into it, this is not the place. But they were all, it was cool seeing those three. Paul Walter Hauser had an incredible, like, hardcore match recently. And I think Ring of Honor, I think it was a match without honor. Man, what a way this actor turned wrestler has come. Before we get into the women's world title match was next. It was Ryu Mizunami taking on the champion Hikaru Shida. And my God, this was good. These two just punched each other in the face, kicked each other in the face, threw each other into everything. When it comes down to it, if we're all just completely honest about this wrestling thing we all love, no one trains harder than the Japanese wrestlers. They are taught to just beat the shit out of each other. And that's exactly what Mizunami and Shida do. Great story here. I think they have a story of like Shida couldn't beat Mizunami, which does kind of ruin the ending. I'll give you that much. But this is just fantastic. I literally wrote down, they're just brutal. Kicks, chops, elbows, punches, forearms. They're just hitting each other. That's it. There's no fake wrestling. They're just... That's what it sounds like, the entire match. At one point, Mizunami was like doing a mime thing. It was really funny. I forgot about Mizunami. She's, again, one of those really good wrestlers. I think she almost retired back in 2021. That's the story they're telling anyway. And it's cool to see that she didn't retire and got to wrestle Hikaru Shida again. I love Hikaru Shida. I don't know what she's doing right now. I don't know why she's not right here in my face every week on television. She's one of the best women's wrestlers that not only AEW ever had, but just in general. But in the end, regardless of how good this match was, and again, they have some really good near falls, Hikaru Shida just went nuts with knee strikes to eventually get the 1-2-3 and retain her title. Post-match, I gotta look at it because I forgot. Nyla Rose, Britt Baker, Maki Ito, and Rebel. That's a lot of people all jumped the... both competitors, because I think they're about to shake hands. They all come out, they all jump them. I think they were all involved in the opening matchup before Thunder Rosa comes out and makes the save. So this is good. It was a really good match that led to post-match stuff, more angles, stuff like that. All these people would interact over time. And I made sure to write down here that hopefully one day I'll have the episode of Dynamite on there with the unsanctioned match, I think it was, between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. I really want to be able to talk about in that channel. That was one of my favorite women's matches of all time. But this was good. I gave it 3.5 stars. It did feel like it had a lull point, I guess. It kind of slowed down, but I guess that's just their style, so nothing wrong with that. But I gave it 3.5 stars. Again, I really wish Shida was doing more. I don't really know what she's up to right now, but I hope we get to see her again really soon. We head to a backstage interview with Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor, but before Alex Marvez can get about 5 words out, Miro and Kip Sabian, their opponents, jump him. They beat the crap out of him backstage, including throwing Chuck Taylor through a window, which makes him bleed. They drag him to the ring, and this starts off as a handicap match. And yes, my baby's in this video too. Chuck kind of bleeds the entire time. Sorry, I know I should be pausing for these little drink breaks. But eventually, Miro and Kip Sabian really dominate Chuck Taylor for a while. He has a couple of cool flurries, but never lasts. Eventually, Orange Cassidy comes out. We get the hot tag. And Orange does good for a little while, but doesn't last. Eventually, they just keep beating him up. This match is not very long, all things considered. I do feel like watching this match just reminds you that Miro/Rusev just never gets used properly. And I don't understand why. He's always over. Like, everywhere he's been, people love him, and no matter what company he's in, they don't seem to know what to do with him, and that just doesn't make any sense to me. It looks like I wrote down that he pushed Orange Cassidy into Penelope Ford, who takes out... he pushes Orange Cassidy into Penelope Ford. Then he just takes both Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor out, and he makes him tap out... Chuck Taylor, sorry. Tap out with the game over, which is the accolade, which is just a really violent-looking camel clutch, basically. But this was fun. It was short and sweet. It changed the pace up a little bit from the rest of the show, which that's AEW is pretty... Well, they can be good at pacing out their shows where each match feels a little bit different than the last. And it was a little short, but again, I guess... I don't know. I gave it 3 stars. The classic average 3 stars. That's a good thing. Anything less than 3, I guess, is technically bad. It was fine, right? It wasn't very long. Miro looked fantastic, but all it really did was remind me that, like, again, WWE, AEW, no one knows how to use him. He really should be a top contender for a world title almost all the time. He's so good, and people can get behind him really easily. This was, again, just a reminder that they could do more with him. I don't remember how long it was before Miro stopped being the best man character and went on that God's favorite champion run, but again, that's something that we'll hopefully talk about one day. But yeah, for this one, Miro and Kip Sabian did win, and they were still a team at this point. Up next is a backstage segment that's kind of famous these days. Chris Jericho, MJF, Santana, and Ortiz. Jericho and MJF are upset about what happened in the tag match earlier, and they announced that on Wednesday, they are going to have the Inner Circle War Council, which means that all 5 members are going to be in the ring. It's just a big segment, basically. MJF says, you're right, things need to change. This would lead to one of the coolest moments in AEW history, in my opinion. It would lead to the debut of the Pinnacle. If you have never seen that, it is so cool. The MJF and other members of the Inner Circle act like they are joining MJF. Turns out they're joining Chris Jericho. They're about to jump MJF, and MJF says he got his own faction, and it's like FTR, Wardlow, Shawn Spears. They just whoop the Pinnacle or the Inner Circle, and that would lead to the first Blood and Guts match, which also has a bunch of controversy around it. We'll talk about it one day, I hope. But this was just this segment. You knew something was going to happen, even all the way back then. If you were watching live like I was, you were watching it going, "Why is MJF?" He's like, things need to change. You could tell there was something going on in his head. So, like I said, it would lead to the debut of the Pinnacle. Okay, so before I get into this next match, I want to make a couple of things very, very clear. I love it when pro wrestling companies take 2 wrestlers and just test them out. What happens if we put these 2 in a match? I also love Hangman Adam Page. If you don't know that by now, you're crazy. He's the main character of AEW. I think that he is going to be top of the mountain for his entire career. I don't think he'll ever be away from that. And Matt Hardy does not get the credit he deserves. He reinvents himself just like Chris Jericho does, and we never talk about it. How many versions, LOL, have there been of Matt Hardy? There's the Hardy Boys. There's version 1. There's Woken. There's Big Money Matt. And currently he's like in his 2nd or 3rd iteration of the Hardy Boys version. No one ever talks about Matt Hardy's reincarnations, again, LOL, or reinventions, but we talk about Chris Jericho's like they're the best thing ever. However, I do not think this match worked. I think the story was fun. It was goofy as hell. Matt Hardy was Big Money Matt at the time, like I mentioned, and he was signing people to contracts, and he took Hangman to a bar. This is so bad. He took Hangman to a bar, got him drunk, and told him to sign the contract, which would have given Matt Hardy 30% of his earnings. But while Matt Hardy was talking to the cameraman, Hangman gets rid of that contract, pulls up a different contract and signs it, and has Matt sign it. Matt's not paying any attention. And that contract, again, this is so silly. Either way, it's illegal, right? Either Hangman Adam Page was drunkenly going to sign a contract to give away some of his money, but instead he tricked Matt Hardy into signing a contract he didn't read, which stated that they were going to have a match at Revolution where the winner would get 100% of the loser's first quarter earnings, which included this pay-per-view match because first quarter's, whatever. Again, it's silly, but it was fun. I remember this story. I remember liking Big Money Matt a lot. Again, Matt Hardy needs more credit. This match just did not work to me. It's a little bit slower than what we've seen on the show so far, and that's fine. I told you before with the Miro match just a minute ago, slowing down's great. When Miro, I guess he's Rusev now, faced Oba on Raw this past Monday, it was a little bit slower, but also not because they're both pretty fast. You get what I mean. You get my point. Slowing down is okay. I like all kinds of wrestling. All types of wrestling is good. So slowing down is fine. There was just something missing. I would be doing it with both my hands if I had my other arm. It's fine. Matt Hardy took a long time he tried to attack Hangman Page's arm and hand, which is smart. Buckshot lariat, you get it, all that stuff. There is a twist of fate on the floor, which does look really cool. Eventually, Private Party, who were working with Matt Hardy at the time, do try to come out and help. Then the Dark Order comes out, which, good lord, how many members of the Dark Order were there at one point? Again, this is another match that I feel like I am kind of zooming through, but I just feel like there's not much to tell you, and that feels mean. Because again, these are both incredible competitors. I just went on a rant about how good Matt Hardy is, but it just didn't work out very well for me. In the end, there's this, again, it's so funny. Matt Hardy went to knock Hangman Adam Page off the apron. The Dark Order caught Hangman and kind of launched him back onto the apron so Hangman could hit the buckshot lariat, get the 1, 2, 3, and I guess he gets all of Matt Hardy's money for the first 3 months of the year. It was good. It was solid. It was fine. I gave it 3 stars. That technically means it's the lowest rated match. I'm going to tell you right now, none of the rest of these matches go to 3 stars. But again, it's not that it was bad. I think I had another 3-star match, the tag match. 3 stars is as low as I get on this show. It just didn't work for me personally. Like, it was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It wasn't a bad match. I'm not going to give it negative stars and crap all over it like some people would. But again, I applaud AEW for trying something, and I love both these guys. So just didn't work for me personally. But that's okay. Wrestling isn't just for me. And look where they both are now. Hangman Page about to challenge for the world title again, and Matt Hardy, like I said, he's doing his last run as the Hardy Boys. Gonna need the notes for this one because of the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Another match that I don't understand where it went. I thought this was a cool concept. You get 6 guys that have to climb a ladder to grab an actual brass ring, which is a ha-ha, he-he inside joke. If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. And the winner got a shot at the TNT title the following night on Dynamite. So I don't know what happened to it. I love to see it come back. But this was Max Caster, Lance Archer, Scorpio Sky, Penta, Cody, Rhodes, and a debut, a surprise entrant, which was Ethan Page. Again, how is it only 5 years ago that Ethan Page was debuting for AEW, and now he's like a top talent on NXT? Wrestling is insane. This was a fantastic match, but here's the question I asked. What am I even supposed to do? How am I supposed to sit here and talk you guys through a 6-man ladder match from AEW? Absolutely nuts, absolutely insane. I will tell you a couple things about the entrances here. First thing, Max Caster raps. I miss those. I remember when he used to come out. I know he did like 1 or 2 that were less than good ideas, but I used to miss him coming out and doing some really good raps. They were fun. They were new. Well, they weren't new. Oh, God, someone's going to murder me in the comments for that. But they were new at the time. They were interesting. It was nice to see them back and in a fresher space. Lance Archer comes out and beats up a fan. I'm sure it was a wrestler, a planted fan. But he just keeps threatening to beat up the fans. Eventually just punches one in the face. It's really funny. Quick story about Lance Archer. I once went to an AEW Dynamite where beforehand they were filming Dark. And Lance Archer's music hit. And he literally dragged his opponent to the ring. And in just the funniest spin on normal entrances, Justin Roberts goes, dragging his opponent to the ring. And it made me laugh. I'll never forget that. I love Lance Archer. Ethan Page got a really good reaction. Again, it was a surprise debut. And then Cody Rhodes, right? He comes out to his theme song at the time, which was, Kingdom. The Snoop Dogg remix. It's terrible. It is absolutely horrendous. I get it. I think at the time, this is when him and Snoop Dogg were like friends. And Snoop Dogg had wrestled. This was right after he had a match with Shaq. Good God. Oh, wrestling. But it's not good. Do not do the thing where you go oh, Jared mentioned this thing I don't know about. Don't go listen to it. It's terrible. They should just come out to Normal Kingdom. But again, this match is insane. Um, and again, you already know how this goes. I'm not going to try to explain every move to you. They hit each other with ladders. They went flying all over the place. There were dives. There were moves that tried to kill each other, like a destroyer on a ladder bridge. A destroyer on a ladder bridge. Are you kidding me? Sunset flip power bombs off of ladders. And then, something else I forgot about. Jake the Snake Roberts was managing Lance Archer at this point. What? Why? He gets in the ring at one point and eats a super kick. Excuse me. Jake Roberts does not need to be taking super kicks from Penta in 2021. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But it's really good, right? It's a multi-person ladder match, which, again, let me reiterate, I'm not saying just AEW has good ladder matches with multi-mans. WWE has insane multi-man ladder matches, as do any companies that do this. But it's classic multi-man nonsense. In the end, Cody Rhodes and Scorpio Sky are on the top. I just wrote Sky knocks him off. I don't remember how. He just did. Scorpio Sky was part of SCU at this time as well. I didn't mention them in the opening match, but they were in it. Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. So this was cool. Scorpio Sky would wrestle Darby Allin the following week on Dynamite. He did not win the TNT title there, but he was TNT champion at one point. I just don't remember when. So this was great. This was fantastic. 4 stars. What else am I going to give this match? I didn't give it 5 stars. That felt like I'm giving too much. But it's definitely a 4-star match. You should check it out. If there's one match on this show you should watch, it is the Fates of the Revolution ladder match. And like I said, I think AEW should bring it back. Okay, time for the big, super hyped debut. If you were around for this period, for the teases, for all the stuff with Paul White, then I would love to have your thoughts in the comments. If you're going to comment on this video, let me know how you felt about this, because I remember being really excited and actually really enjoying the reveal. They're all gone. There were some really negative responses online, and I'll never understand them at all, because this was Christian Cage, right? They hyped it up as the biggest signing in the history of the world. But that's what you do. You hype up these things. People used to get mad at Tony Khan for over-exaggerating the hype for a pay-per-view. Do you not know how professional wrestling or any sports endeavor works? You hype it up. It doesn't matter if it delivers or not, but you get it hyped so people watch. For me, I think if you had a negative reaction to this, you should come over to my house so I give you a little slap and send you on your way. Because not only has Christian Cage always been underappreciated, and you're just fucking proof of that, but he has gone on to have a great career in AEW. He comes out, he got a huge pop. 1,300 people made it sound like there's 40,000 in there. They screamed their heads off. He signs his contract, he's got the outwork everyone thing. We all know what he'd go to do, so I hope if you did have a bad reaction to Christian's debut, that you've come around and realized that you made a mistake. Because it's just like the Danhausen debut, right? Lots of people were like, oh, this was terrible, and now he's one of the most over guys in the live audiences, online, in the aftermath, people that don't watch live like me and watch the recaps. So never give a debut too much crap. Enjoy it for what it is and then see what happens next. And good news about Christian Cage, if he ever sees this video, my dad is alive. You cannot come after me. A match that I genuinely forgot was on this show, because how would you put this match with the main event on the same show? But it is the return, yes, of Sting to wrestling. There is so much to unpack here. Back in December of 2020 at Winter is Coming, Sting had made his huge return to professional wrestling. Once again, like 1,000 people, made it sound like it was the most sold out arena in the entire world. The infamous "It's Sting" from Tony Schiavone eventually would lead to this matchup. It is Sting and Darby Allin against Team Taz, which at this point is Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. I'm sorry, I forgot, because there's actually way more going on with Team Taz in this match, but we'll get to it. The best thing about this match, in my opinion, is that AEW heard the word street fight and they let them go away, not in the arena. Now, it wasn't in the streets, but I really liked how they did this. It was literally a ring in a big empty warehouse. Sting and Darby Allin have this really cool entrance where Sting is driving a pickup truck and Darby's like on a skateboard through the city that they're in, I guess. A bunch of abandoned streets. Probably not the city they were actually in. They probably filmed elsewhere. And then they have all these hooded guys with Sting masks, which they call them the hoodlums because they say they're hoodlums or something like that. It was like the story they were telling. Taz is also on commentary for this, which really sells the show and the match, I should say. Sells the match. Taz being on commentary is always great. Plus, he's funny. He's hilarious. And this, like the women's title match earlier, is just 4 guys punching each other in the face. Sting was well into his 60s. At this point, I think he was 61. I'm not entirely sure exactly how old he is. Again, I could have looked it up. But it was a cinematic match, right? It was a way to kind of protect Sting. And what was really cool about this, looking back, is when you first saw this match, a lot of people, again, the online internet wrestling community, which, like I've told you a bunch of times, aren't real. They're not real people. We're like, oh no, this is all just going to be cinematic matches, and he'll have like 4 matches, blah, blah, blah. He ended up having like 20 or 30 matches, and a bunch of them were live. I was there for a couple of them, and he kept doing like stage dives and stuff. Like, Sting kicked ass. This may have been his best run. Like, it's worth a conversation that Sting's AEW career is at least comparable to his WCW career, if not better. Real quickly, yes, this happens sometimes. Somebody commented on one of my recent videos and said, I don't know if I'd have kids in the video, but it just happens sometimes, right? So if you've been a long-time viewer, you know this happens. Someday it'll happen less, but today is not that day. Anyway, there's all kinds of nonsense in this match. There's brick walls. There's just throwing each other into brick walls, hitting each other with weapons like shovels and trash cans and everything. Darby Allin actually jumps off a wall. He like leaps up to a brick wall and then leaps off of it. It's really cool. But eventually, Sting is in the ring with Ricky Starks while Darby Allin runs off with Brian Cage before the rest of Team Taz arrives, which is Hook and Powerhouse Hobbs. Powerhouse Hobbs makes me laugh because he shows up with a ski mask on as if we're not going to know who he is. Look at Powerhouse Hobbs. If you put a ski mask on, for example, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you just put him in a ski mask, you're going to know who he is. And I feel like the same way with Powerhouse Hobbs. He's a big dude. They show up. They start beating the crap out of Darby Allin. They throw Darby Allin through a glass window pane. I remember that spot, and I think I'll remember that spot for the rest of my life. It's like burned into my brain. Taz, again, great on commentary. He keeps saying, oh, we got a plan, we got a plan. He just laughs the whole time. Eventually, they go beat up Sting for a little while before Sting starts to fight back because he's amazing. Then Darby is in this, like, window or a big open platform, I guess. He throws Sting his bat. He twonks everybody with his bat. He breaks his bat over Brian Cage's back. He puts Brian Cage on this, like, bridge, right? It's clearly made out of, like, wood or pallets or something, but it's all covered so you don't know. And then Darby Allin just kills himself and Brian Cage by throwing himself out of that platform through this bridge and into the abyss below. I don't know how far Darby jumped, how far he fell, if he actually landed on Brian Cage or not, but it looks insane. You've got to give them credit for that at least. Eventually Sting and Ricky Starks are back in the little makeshift ring. It's not a makeshift ring, it's just a wrestling ring. And Starks tries to do some stuff, like he removes the turnbuckle pad and Sting hits it, whatever. But eventually Sting just hits the Scorpion Death Drop and wins. I believe that's it. It is an unforgettable match. It will stick with you the entire time. This is probably the best match on the show. It's my favorite match. I'm going to tell you right now, I gave it 4 stars. It is so easy to watch. It is so easy to get into. I know I gave 4 stars to the opener and the ladder match, which is like, I guess all 3 are comparable. But no, this is the most fun match on the show. You will not ever be bored. I guess both tag matches on the show were good. And again, this would lead to such a good run for Sting. He would have all these incredible matches live, a few cinematics. I'm glad he got to have this run. And you let me know. Let me know if you like this run more than this WCW one. Excuse me. I think AEW knew what they were doing with Sting, and I'm really happy he got to go out on his own terms. Okay, it's time for the main event. A match that everyone was curious about, that everyone was talking about before the opening bell even happened. The exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch for the AEW World title. Kenny Omega defending against Jon Moxley. Get a great video package before this. We get Don Callis on commentary. There is so much to talk about here. Before we even get into the match, we have to talk about the match stipulation itself, because not only is it an exploding barbed wire death match, but there's a time bomb, which is different from a normal exploding barbed wire death match. And there's a whole thing with the triple hell on the outside, which is 3 barbed wire boards covering landmines, more explosions basically. So I always like to say this was an exploding barbed wire, time bomb, triple hell death match, because AEW couldn't help themselves. I will say, in recent years, I thought they could bring it back, and we'll talk about what I mean in just a second. But before we get to the thing that everyone wants me to talk about, and if you know, you know, if you don't know, I'm about to tell you, this is insane. This is absolutely nuts. The explosions are real. I know they're small, and they kind of blow up instead of at the wrestlers, but they're still real mini explosions, and the barbed wire is real. I don't know if you all know this or not, but back in the day when WWE would do hardcore matches with barbed wire, sometimes the barbed wire wouldn't be real. It'd be gimmicked, at least. Whereas some wrestlers like Mick Foley would gladly take barbed wire to the face, back, neck, groin, wherever. So to know that Moxley and Omega just didn't care and put real barbed wire on there, you couldn't do this, right? That's my first thing when I think that, is if you're a wrestling fan and you're like, oh, well, that match sucked because of this, that, and the other, if you can't do it, then I think you should be quiet, right? You're allowed to have your opinion, and I'm never going to begrudge anyone an opinion. But I wrestled for a little while, and I took a second rope slam or something, and it hurt like hell. I can't imagine what it would be like to be thrown into barbed wire that then explodes. But before the ending of the match, before we get to the finale and everything, this is really brutal. They take a good long while to do any of the explosions, which I do like. Only 3 sides of the ring have explosions. AEW explains it as so medical personnel can come in there, so they get to fight on the outside, and they get to hit each other with barbed wire before the first explosion happens. Don Callis, just like Taz, keeps laughing on commentary. I really like when Omega first hits the barbed wire because it's twice in a row. You get the really cool kick out visual where Omega hits a one-winged angel and Moxley's foot hits the rope and causes an explosion, which causes a kick out. Which causes Omega to let go of the pin. So technically Moxley didn't kick out of the one-winged angel. It was a mistake. I've always thought that Moxley kicked the rope, but it does kind of look like his leg just falls, like he's unconscious, his legs hits it. I will give a little bit of leeway to you guys about one of the spots, the Death Rider, I think that's what it is. Or is it the Paradigm Shift? 2 different moves. Off of the apron into one of the triple hell landmines. They hit the barbed wire, which again looks insane. But the pyro, the explosion goes off kind of to the left, or the right, I mean. It kind of doesn't go anywhere near them. That does kind of take you out of it. But this is a brutal match. A lot of barbed wire, a lot of blood. It's the ending that always gets people, and we might as well just get into it. Eventually, the Good Brothers show up with another barbed wire bat, and you're like, why do they need a second barbed wire bat? Because this one is rigged with an explosive, which is something AEW's done a lot of lately. They take regular weapons and put explosions on them, explosives on them, exploding tables, exploding shoes. Remember an exploding shoe? But they hit Moxley in the head, it blows up. Omega hits a one-winged angel through a set-up chair and retains his world title. As we are told by the commentators, the timer, this whole time is going off, a 30-minute timer, that when it ends, all the explosions that are rigged will go off at the same time. Which, if you've never seen that before in Japan, I suggest you go and find that instead, because this is just going to blow your bubble or deflate your anus. I don't know what to say. I wrote deflating in my notes. But basically, as the countdown is going, everybody just keeps beating up Jon Moxley. When there's 30 seconds left, Eddie Kingston shows up, and I'm like, where the hell were you? They literally spend almost 2 whole minutes just beating the piss out of Jon Moxley, and then Eddie Kingston just goes at the last second and starts beating up Carl Anderson, but nobody else. Worst best friend in history. But he runs in the ring. Moxley's been handcuffed because they want to kill Jon Moxley. They want the ring to explode with Moxley in it. The countdown comes, and here's the thing, right? When I watched it the first time, my heart raced. When I watched it again, all these years later, and I've seen this match a lot. I watch this match all the time. Well, I watched their unsanctioned match more, but when the countdown got close to 0, my heart raced again. I knew it was going to happen, and even 5 years later, the thought of, oh my God, the ring's going to explode, gets you every time. And then the timer hits 0, and I look at the floor, because again, if you don't know, I'm about to tell you, little sparks come off the turnbuckles, kind of like Chris Masters used to have.
Ow.
And the pyro goes off, but it goes off like this. Like a little puff of smoke, almost like Danhausen's debut. And it's just not the massive explosion you were expecting. It really does deflate the match. I genuinely was ready to come on here and give all of you so much crap for being so horrible to this match because of the finish, but I see it with my own eyes now. Again, you can't do it. Neither could I. I couldn't wrestle in a barbed wire match. It's just too much for me. But these guys worked their asses off. Just the finish, the explosion, if we can call it that. And then Eddie Kingston and John Moxley have to act like they're dead. Excalibur has to scream, "Oh my God!" at the top of his lungs. It just doesn't work. I will give AEW credit for the follow-up. You had Moxley and Kingston. Moxley saying that he was unconscious, obviously, from being crap beat out of him. And Eddie Kingston saying he gave him PTSD. That was smart. And then Omega and Callis saying that they rigged it like that on purpose because they wanted to scare Moxley into thinking they were going to blow him up, but they were never going to do that. AEW did their best with this. However, up to this point, I probably would have given this match at least 4 stars just because, again, they worked too hard, right? They worked too hard. When you work for as long as they worked, like 20 plus minutes, being thrown into barbed wire and weapon shots and throwing yourselves around, it's not easy to do. But because of that ending and because some of it is a little sillier than I wished it was, I gave this match 3.5 stars. It was fine, but if you watch it, if you've never seen this match before, and I just spoiled the ending for you, if you watch it and you don't know what's coming, your heart is going to race. You're going to get excited. You're going to start going, "Oh my God, they're going to blow up John Moxley." And then you get and shh, and it just doesn't work. But that brings us to the end of AEW Revolution 2021. It was a decent show. I know I gave 3 matches 4 stars, but there are some shows. God mother. I don't have time to hit pause. Sorry, everybody. There are some AEW shows where every match is 4 or 5 stars, where everything that you see is just really, really good. And again, I'm not saying I'm an AEW mark. I am. I'm a wrestling mark, right? I just enjoy wrestling. And this was a good show. Overall, I think I already said this. I gave it a B. It's not an A or an S. It's not absolutely perfect, but it is good. It's not an average show. It's above average for sure. So it gets a B rating. And that is it for this week's episode of Retro Wrestling Rewind, which means it's time to, if you're new to this, what I do now is I go and I roll a D20 to see what we do next. Okay, so I don't have my tripod right now, so my wife is actually going to roll the die. So we're going to watch this together so you guys know I'm not lying about it. 17, which is, oh man, I'm so excited. 17 is In Your House Ground Zero. It's not a very long show, but it features a infamous match between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. So I'm excited to watch that. So that's when I'll see you again. We will review WWE again, but this time In Your House Ground Zero, which is from the 90s. So it'll be a fun show to do. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Again, I'm going to try to make these as often as possible, but I just got to get around to watching the shows. Hopefully you'll see you again next week for In Your House Ground Zero. And until next time, this is JT Channel. I am JT. Be very, very quiet. And I will see you in the next one.